Hello and welcome to the Gaggle Challenge, and if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. Peter, there's some interesting developments in the last couple of weeks, and that is that our old friend, the USAID, is coming under the hammer from the incoming Trump administration. Of course, the USAID, which actually disperses a huge amount of money and supposedly on humanitarian projects, but as we've tracked for many years, is actually engaged in regime change operations. And Trump, and above all, Elon Musk, have figured out that essentially what they are doing, USAID, in these regime change, is first of all, they're empowering all sorts of people who detest Trump and who have no interest at all in following a kind of a Trump agenda. Um, but above all, that they create instability around the world. And by doing so, they create problems for the United States. A case in point, for instance, when Hosni Mubarak was overthrown in Egypt. Whatever you think about Mubarak's government, the loss of Mubarak was clearly was affected the United States position in the Middle East in a very serious way. They got this guy Mosey instead, kind of an Islamist. So that created a lot of problems, and therefore the USAID is filled with people who have a particular agenda of their own, and is definitely not the agenda of Donald Trump. And we saw it again. There's Georgia, these continued demonstrations and riots that are ongoing in Georgia months after the election. That's a mark of
And the funding of so-called media, free media,
yeah.
and independent media in Ukraine, like 90% of it is paid for by this agency.
That's right. By the ancient, and remember, Samantha Power. She came to Hungary. It was I think about a couple of years ago with a checkbook. She's just sort of signing these checks. Creating these civil society organizations. But the goal there is to topple the government of Viktor Orban. So it's explicit. There's nothing humanitarian. That's how the media want to play it. Oh, it's humanitarian. It's all about food. Presenting food, medication. No, its goal is regime change and bringing to power all sorts of people, who are favored by Soros, Samantha Power, and by the usual kind of international do-gooder human rights brigade. So this was the coverage that we had in the media in the last few days, because again we're getting this familiar meltdown, and it's particularly with Elon Musk. It says Elon Musk said Donald Trump agreed USAID needs to be shut down, and here we have Musk said President Donald Trump agreed the USAID needs to be shut down following days of speculation over the future of the agency after its funding was frozen and dozens of its employees were put on leave. And then Musk says, with regards to the USAID staff, I went over it with the president in detail, and he agreed that we should shut it down. Um, Musk said he checked with Trump a few times, and Trump confirmed he wants to shut down the agency, which dispenses billions in humanitarian aid, of course, and development
Oh,
funds.
allegedly in humanitarian.
Exactly. Now, Trump was, when he was asked, he didn't quite say he intends to shut it down. He said there are all these crazy lunatics running that place. We need to get rid of these crazy lunatics. Trump put it. So he hasn't, at least publicly, said that he wants to shut it down. Um, but what we do know that the website is gone. There's no more USAID website.
They're off of Twitter.
That's right. The Twitter is down. So that's a first step. And, now maybe they were going to bring it all under the control of the State Department under Marco Rubio. But here in the X Spaces conversation early Monday, which he co-hosted with Joni Ernst of Iowa and Vivek Ramaswamy. The ex-owners called USAID incredibly politically partisan and said it's been supporting radical left causes throughout the world, including things that are anti-American.
Well, again, it's very, very selective, radically left.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, no, yeah,
I mean, these people, troublemakers,
that's right.
troublemakers,
Exactly.
okay?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But again, you could say anti-American. I mean, you could say that, hey, what they're doing is overthrowing, legitimate governments around the world. I mean, it's like anti-American, but wherever they go, they're creating instability, and that really doesn't work. Ultimately in America's interest. It's only the Biden people and I guess the Obama people
Well,
who,
well, I
who
mean,
assume that somehow instability is a good thing.
yeah, but let's take a case in point. Let's look at Georgia prior to August 2008. I mean, Western NGOs, USAID, I mean, they were all over the place and they were generating a fake consensus and people, nutcases like Saakashvili, believe he
Right,
had the wind to his back. I mean, he
right,
believed his own
right,
propaganda. He believed USAID.
right.
And what did we get? A conflict.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And of course, we had the two color revolutions in Ukraine, which were catastrophic. We had the Orange Revolution in 2004, and then of course we had Maidan, very, very much in the heavy involvement of USAID, and of course others, NED, and IRI, the International Republican Institute, the National Democratic Institute, and of course all the Soros entities, and they all work in tandem. And then here, Musk said USAID is beyond repair. And then, we don't have an apple with a worm in it. We have a bowl of worms. USAID is a bowl of worms. That's kind of disgusting. Um, anyway, and then we have the whole, USAID was, created by the Kennedy administration. It dispenses billions of dollars annually across the world in an effort to alleviate poverty, treat diseases, and respond to famines and natural disasters. But even, it's very interesting because, um, as we found when Samantha Power was confronted by Senator Rand Paul, it was clear the USAID had been given money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. I mean, it was clear. I mean, she wasn't really denying it. She was getting into semantics with Rand Paul, but he had the goods. He said, "Yeah, this is what you've been doing. You've been giving money to the Institute of Virology." Um, and but it's very interesting that they have this benign view of the USAID. If you recall, back in the 60s and 70s, people always assumed USAID, that's CIA. I mean, if you recall that famous Costa Gavras film, I think 1972, State of Siege, where these Tupamaros guerrillas kidnapped an American played by Yves Montand. He was working for the USAID. And they said, hey, you're not just a benevolent figure, you're CIA. Everyone assumed if you're USAID, you're CIA. But suddenly, again, the media, just slavishly putting forward this, oh, yeah, it's poverty, disease, hunger. That's what they're
Yeah, and
involved
these are the same people, right, to protect
in. Yes,
followers, things like
exactly.
that.
That's right. And the USAID is a key soft power tool of the US to foster relations with communities around the world, noting that US national security is approached through the three Ds: defense, diplomacy, and development, led respectively by the Defense Department, State Department, and USAID. This is CNN. So, essentially kind of providing handouts from the US government. And then other Trump officials, such as Stephen Miller, and have also taken aim at USAID, accusing its workforce of being overwhelmingly Democrats. And then, the
But
USAID,
overwhelmingly, I think he's being generous.
I think so. USAID's website went dark, and a new page for the agency appeared on the State Department website. And then USAID's X account also went offline. Um, and then, we have The Guardian that says senior USAID officials put on leave after denying access to Musk's Doge team. But I mean, Musk's Doge team, they just kind of wanted to find, where have you been spending this money? Because USAID has been obfuscating. Again, this came out in the hearings with Rand Paul. You're just obfuscating. We want documents about, where you're spending your money, and you're just not providing us with this documentation.
It's an amazing clip to watch on YouTube because Samantha Power kept saying, we always like working directly and giving all information to these committees. And he would interrupt her and she would start all over again, repeating the same line
Right,
over and over again.
right,
So robotic.
right.
Almost lying through her teeth.
Lying, exactly. And then it says, two senior security officials at USAID have been put on administrative leave after they blocked efforts by members of Elon Musk's department, Doge, to have access sensitive data from the agency. Again, what is this? The sensitive data? I mean,
Sensitive if it's aid.
that's right. Um, and then the demands led to a tense standoff during which a senior deputy to Musk threatened to call the U.S. Marshals in to grant access to the building. The official said John Voorhees, USAID's director of security, and the deputy blocked efforts by Doge members to physically access restricted areas.
Why restricted?
Yeah, exactly. Why restricted? And again, they're working under the authority of the president. I mean, I don't. You can't just simply that he's there working at the president, and that's his responsibility. He's there to propose cuts to U.S. government programs. That was the job that was assigned to him. Anyway, USAID continues. USAID continued to abruptly suspend career staffers through Sundays, with the majority of staff in the Legislative and Public Affairs Bureau cut off from their email. More than 100 career staffers at USAID have now been put on administrative leave.
Probably with pay.
With pay. That's what administrative leave is paid, which is not bad. I mean, you remember Trump kind of said you have to start showing up for work. I mean, federal employees really haven't been showing up for work really ever since COVID. For 4 years they've been basically working from home. And suddenly Trump said, no, if you don't show up for work, Monday morning, you're terminated. So yeah, that essentially it's administrative leave is kind of nice. And then somebody is quoted as, we're literally coming to work each day, waiting to get the email that we are supposed to go. It's very much a terror feeling in that building right now. Oh, no. I mean, the terror.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then here we have USAID is the world's largest single donor. In fiscal year 2023, the US disbursed $72 billion of assistance worldwide on everything from women's health in conflict zones to access to clean water, HIV/AIDS treatments, energy security, and anti-corruption work. It provided 42% of all humanitarian aid tracked by the United Nations in 2024. Trump has ordered a global freeze on most U.S. foreign aid as part of America First policy, which is already sending shockwaves around the world. Field hospitals in Thai refugee camps, landmine clearance.
Here we go.
Exactly, in war
Here we go.
zone.
Here we go.
That's right. And they're all at the risk of elimination. And then here's the Washington Post. Also, there's anguish. This is throughout the media. There's yesterday they were in anguish over the tariffs. Now
And
it's
then and the day before
USAID.
that, the helicopter.
Yeah, exactly. That was the day before. How dare Trump call into question, this
Well, they did. They released who was the pilot.
DEI in the.
They
Yeah,
did
so
release who the pilot was.
they released exactly and there have to be a lot of questions about that pilot. Who's
I feel
spent
vindicated. I feel vindicated. Sorry.
exactly who spent a lot of time working for Biden, doing all sorts of social work, for the Bidens and so on. You think not too much time at the controls of a helicopter. So which I would have thought is a kind of a full time job. Um, and then so and Musk says we're shutting it down, and then he goes on. The Trump administration and its allies move to tighten. So what does it mean? And its allies, I don't know who these allies are. I mean, there's a Trump administration. I mean, I don't know what these allies. I mean, Musk is a member of the administration, so I don't know if he's an ally. And its allies move to tighten control of USAID, signaling an intent to act forcefully to bring the U.S. foreign policy apparatus in line with the president's America First approach to engaging with the world.
Which he has the prerogative to do. Biden did it.
Right. That's right. And ultimately, you would say, why is that a bad thing? I mean, it's like, it's kind of what he was elected to do. I mean, you would expect an American president to put America first. But somehow they make it this sort of disgusting thing to do. USAID staffers were told that the agency's headquarters in Washington will be closed Monday amid the turmoil.
What's the turmoil?
I don't know what the turmoil.
They make it sound like there are barricades and people are
Right,
throwing
yeah, yeah.
cocktails.
Right.
No,
It's like what I was reading an article today in the Guardian about the riots in Georgia last night, and they say Georgia is in the midst of a constitutional crisis. So, oh, really? Because Salome Zurabichvili refuses to accept the legitimacy of the presidential election. I mean, she's gone. She's not there anymore. Oh, well, that's a constitutional crisis, but a private person refuses to accept the legitimacy of the president. And it goes back to the point that Lukashenko said. Like he said, oh, the Europeans refuse to accept the legitimacy of your election. I said, okay, well, what does it matter whether I say I refuse to accept the legitimacy of Keir Starmer as prime minister, or I refuse to accept the legitimacy of the 2024 US presidential election? It doesn't make any difference. It means nothing. In an email to staff early Monday, the agency's leadership said, quote, agency personnel normally assigned to work at USAID headquarters will work remotely with the exception of personnel with essential on-site and building maintenance functions individually contacted by senior leadership. So don't bother showing up. And then the episode over the weekend has added to the speculation that Trump would attempt to abolish the agency or merge it into the State Department, and underscores the role of unelected figures led by Musk, the richest man in the world, in the administration's push to remake the federal government. But the issue is unelected figures. He's a member of the administration. You could say, just about everybody who works for Trump is unelected, but Trump has authorized him. He's working on the auspices of Trump. This is a stupid thing to say. He's unelected. Unelected means he's somehow working independently of Trump. But if you're working for Trump, then essentially you're working for an elected leader.
Why wasn't Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan unelected?
That's the logic. Or you're unelected. He has no right to be doing it because he's unelected. He was appointed by Trump and he campaigned with Trump. So he and Trump were constantly together. It also highlights the new administration's more transactional view of global engagement and its determination to refocus public spending on activities that yield tangible impacts for U.S. citizens.
As if that's a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's disgusting. It's just what a repulsive idea. And it says, by Sunday afternoon, USAID's X account had been taken down with a message saying the account doesn't exist. The agency's
There's so few times in life that I get to feel so giddy. This is a memorable day.
Yes. I hope Samantha Power managed to get all her things out of the office because I don't think they're going to allow her back in.
Last time I heard, they're looking for some missing office supplies,
Yes,
staplers,
yes.
pencils. They will. We will hunt them down. We will not rest until we get.
That's right. Yeah. Samantha Power's not a good person. You remember
No.
she was involved in all that unmasking during the Obama years. Unmasking. She was the representative
I
of
was
the
unaware
union.
that I was unaware that I was unmasking. Remember that?
Oh, that's
What
right,
do you
exactly.
mean
That
you
was
were
I was
unaware?
unaware. Really. I mean, you asked.
If
Uh,
you're unaware of your activities, then you do not belong in public life.
no,
Okay.
no, and there was never any explanation of
Explanation.
why she was doing this. I thought, oh well, I was unaware. So somebody got into your account. Well, who was it who got into your account and was making these requests on your behalf?
Just a pathological liar.
Exactly. The agency's Instagram account was also taken offline. So they're being quite thorough. USAID's website has been down.
What is this agency on Instagram for?
I don't know. That's a very
What,
good question because Instagram it's just pictures. So yeah. Um, the USAID's website has been down since Saturday. It was not immediately clear whether it was taken down because of the Trump administration's focus on the agency or was taken down because of technical problems. I tend to think it probably is something to do with the Trump administration's focus. And it seems consistent with everything else that's going on. The purge of USAID's personnel and freezing of foreign assistance have caused tension between Trump officials and congressional staff members who have clashed over the value of key projects and the administration's plan to fold USAID within the State Department.
Oh, okay. So some donors are a little upset. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
They're little pet projects. Okay, little
right,
project.
right. That's right. But the strange thing is, when you read this, is that there's an implicit assumption on the part of the journalist that Trump has no right to control what goes on at USAID. They disperse a lot of money. That's $72 billion of taxpayer funds. Now, that's exactly what a president is supposed to be concerned with. Well, how are taxpayer funds being used around the world?
Well, George, I don't know. Maybe this is inappropriate, but where was the USAID after the hurricane?
Right,
Where were they after the fires in Los
right,
Angeles? Where were they after the tsunami, the fires, I'm sorry, in Hawaii?
right,
Did they help out? Were
right.
they there?
I didn't see it.
That's a nice piece of coin.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't see it. The amount of money they disperse. I mean, can you imagine the extent of the funds they handed out in Ukraine? I mean, if we started doing an accounting of that, that would be quite spectacular. Just how much money they poured into Ukraine.
My inkling, George, is that the the money that was dispensed to Ukraine and the travails of this agency are intimately connected
Yeah, I
because
think so.
they want the books, they want an audit,
Right.
okay? And
Right.
this is a good place to start,
Right.
okay? And you don't step on the skirts of this of the Defense Department. That they'll probably be a little wary there. But all of this all these shenanigans, oh, this will be a really fun
Right.
PowerPoint report,
Right.
okay?
Right.
It's
No,
very connected.
no, you're absolutely right, and I think that's why Musk was so anxious to get into the into the books. He wants to see exactly where did that money go. A lot of money. This is we're talking very big money, and what the hell was this spent on? And this is a tweet. This is Ian Miles Chong is one of these stand-ins for Musk, and here it says, "Here's how USAID grift works. One, if you want taxpayer dollars from the government, be a serial grifter like Bill Kristol. Okay. Create an institute dedicated to, quote, defending democracy, unquote. USAID then gives you money to defend democracy. Spend a portion of what they give you on kickbacks to Democrat campaigns and unpaid PR and push their agenda domestically or internationally. pay yourself a salary, of course, through the institute and profit. And I think that's always a key part of it. Pay yourself a salary. Bill Kristol has never been poor. I mean, this is, he's been master at this kind of a grift. And then Musk, he endorsed this tweet and says that's exactly how the scam works. And then Musk again, he said, we spent the weekend feeding USAID into the wood chipper.
Could have gone to some great
Could have
parties.
gone to some great parties, did that instead.
Okay, well, I mean, Elon Musk is turning into one of these even odd days of the week, if you know what I mean.
Right,
Okay,
right,
so it was an even day. It was a good day.
right,
Okay.
right. No, that's right. Um, clearly this USAID and all of these organizations, these are the National Endowment for Democracy and everything, they have been an absolute disaster. They've been a bane for the United States, and it was always high time that somebody got his hands around it and said, this is terrible what you're doing. I mean, and you're not serving American interests. So you look what you did in Georgia, look what you've done in Ukraine. But even when it comes to the Middle East, I mean, that whole the Arab Spring, it was a disaster. It was terrible. I mean, Obama kind of embraced it, but it just shows what a terrible president Obama was. You embraced it by this constant attempt to overthrow Arab regimes. But and this was an organization like USAID, NED, and all the rest of them all played a major role in that.
If you could get your hands on that database, you could write a book that is so explosive. It would be easy to understand as
Right.
well. This is somebody's got this stuff in the cloud
Right.
already, and they're going to be quickly mining this, okay?
Right.
Because given, the contours of what George and I have been talking about since well, actually before the inauguration, this is the kind of cannon fodder that some people around Trump really want to use, okay? So Elon Musk has played the role of the enforcer. I want names, I want numbers, I want accounts. He's got them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
He's no fool. He knows how if he doesn't know how to do it himself, he's going to find somebody that's going to do it for him.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Well, he knows technical stuff. I mean, that's something he knows, and he knows about numbers. I mean, this is what he does, and he clearly has the USAID within his sights, and he's going to point out to Trump, look, this is just terrible, everything that they're doing. I think probably some kind of a much diminished USAID will emerge within the State Department as an agency within the State Department, but nothing like the glory days of Samantha Power. That's gone. It's never going to be an independent entity, basically throwing around money on these terrible kind
Well,
of.
particularly after, in great detail, it's going to be released what they have been doing. Okay. We've just got not even the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is just nothing. This is an ice cube.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I mean, the whole history of American foreign policy from during the Cold War and since is there.
right. Yes.
It's
See,
all there.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. Because when we get to these lists of all of the entities in Ukraine, in Hungary, and throughout the world. I mean, they've been very
What do you
busy.
think they did in Libya?
Yeah,
What
exactly,
do you think
exactly.
they did overthrowing Morsi?
That,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. With and Mubarak, and again, I mean, it was just a terrible policy, and I think Trump kind of instinctively said, this is, not only are you undermining U.S. interests, you're actually, giving it money to people who are thoroughly hostile to me and to what I stand for. And then that money goes back to America. It's not just, oh, it's going to stop there. It actually goes back into the United States. So it's a kind of a, this money goes from one to the other and so on. So they're being used essentially to promote all kinds of entities within the United States, these various global engagement center and all these media entities. So, this is a completely taxpayer money is actually being used essentially for domestic partisan purposes.
Yeah, well, Hunter Biden's really happy he's got his pardon because I wouldn't be surprised if some of that money dipped
I
into his pocket.
think
Okay.
so. I think there's in fact I read precisely that money went to Burisma shortly after Hunter Biden got a job there.
Oh, and
Uh,
poor Masha, she didn't know anything about Masha. Didn't know nothing about it. Okay. Disgraceful American ambassador.
that's right, exactly. Yes, yes,
Another
yes.
pathological liar. Okay.
Exactly. Yes, yes. We
Hey,
were.
George, this is one of the best stories we have ever done. I mean, I'm a patient person. The
Right.
world is a terrible place. It's really messed up, but every once in a while, something comes up that makes it all worth it.
Worthwhile.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is one of those stories. I am so eagerly waiting for
That's right.
more, because there's a lot there. That's a lot of dough to spread around. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, no, this is very, very wise. Of course, Elon Musk is scoring points left and right. Okay.
Right.
Elon, don't stick your head out so much.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
This
Right.
is a win for you.
Right. Yeah. No, but you're right. I mean, like when Musk exposed all the pressure that the social media were coming under from the Biden administration, that was a game changer. Because suddenly we had the receipts. Here we suddenly had the documentation. This is what the Biden administration was doing. So now, because it's a lot of money, imagine what's going to happen now. They're going to go back years and years, and we're going to this what's going to come out. This is going to be a real feast of the scale of this corruption, this political corruption. So
What was the U.S. AID's relationship with the CIA, for
well,
example?
that's another
No, no,
thing.
I mean, but we're going to get the receipts.
Yeah, we're going to
Okay.
get the seats exactly, because the USAID, like NED, like all of this, they were CIA cutouts. I mean that's exactly so. Under the guise of this sort of a humanitarian enterprise, essentially this was the CIA creating a political opposition that can then be exported to the United States, back in the United States, and we saw that during Trump's first term.
No,
Essentially, yeah,
just wait. Maybe it'll be there by the time we do our next video. How much money did US AID give to NATO and they sell that to Trump?
right,
Oh,
right,
oh,
right.
it's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
hurt.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
gonna hurt. Okay. All of the little buffets and brought to you by USAID.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. So that's why I remember when in the early Trump years, we were thinking, well, this is very odd, because it's like the color revolution is taking place in the United States. And so this is very strange. We're used to these kinds of things, in Georgia and Ukraine and so on. Why is it happening in the United States? It's well, yeah, because the same people are involved in both. And that's why exactly the same tactics are being employed inside the United States. So all of that, I think, is going to come
I
out.
wouldn't be surprised, George. I'm not saying I have any knowledge whatsoever, but I wouldn't be surprised if you find out some of that budget ended up doing exactly.
I'm absolutely convinced that it did. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So as
Hey,
we
Christmas came early.
very early.
Came early this year. Yeah, it's like my birthday, Christmas, Fourth of July, and Victory Day all wrapped up into one. I would just really like to. When is Samantha Power going to face the media?
Right. Yeah. No. That's right. Well, I think when stuff starts coming out, and there are going to be congressional hearings, I think she's going to be hauled in to explain herself. It's going
Maybe I
to.
don't know. Do you think she still has her Irish citizenship?
I would have thought so. I think yeah. I think her best bet. You're right.
Well, she's
Her
apparently
bet,
quite wealthy. She married well.
she married well. Yeah, yeah. But I think yeah, she'd probably be best served. Probably spend some time in Ireland. Until this blows over.
No, that they her legacy is toast,
Yeah,
toast.
yeah, yeah.
She was that, climber, climbing up the ladder, smooshing all the way up, and she was ambassador to the United Nations, okay?
Yeah, that's right.
Then she got this, money machine gig.
Mm.
It's all going to be exposed, all of it. So,
Oh yeah,
uh,
her career was a classic. Remember, she wrote that book, "A Problem for Hell," which was a big like a Bible to justify humanitarian intervention. How wonderful the United States is. It's doing all these glorious humanitarian things. That was a bestseller, won all these awards. That helped her get in with Obama, and then 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 she got a nice big job from Obama. And as you say, she married well, and then Biden gave her this plum job. Hey, now you can start throwing a lot of money around. So yeah, that's an absolute classic case. Very very ambitious. Knows exactly how to play the game. Probably from the start, there were powerful forces that were helping her career. It was just a little too perfect how it was. So it's going to be very interesting. Everything that the Musk is now going to expose.
well, I hope it's just the beginning. There's quite a few people I would like to see revealed to the public, okay? That this charade of humanitarianism be exposed for what it is. Just evil, violence,
Yep.
you know, greed,
Yep.
okay? And,
Yep.
people that Americans don't realize how America's reputation is so very tarnished outside of the U.S. It's
Right.
because of all these kind of shenanigans. I've said before, going down to Georgia during one of these elections, you couldn't even get into a cafe because all these NGO workers are taking up every single table and chair.
Right.
Okay, got their
Right.
laptops and their
Right.
phones.
That's
Have
right.
their liquor cabinet in their
Right.
room and all that. They're just having the time of their life.
That's
Okay,
right.
spending.
That's right. And
Uh,
you're right. I mean, so prolific were these NGOs. I mean, it was just like every other person in Georgia was employed by an NGO. I mean, it was the whole place had completely been taken over NGOs. That's why they had to pass this legislation. I mean, because we're just being overwhelmed by all these NGOs. You can bet almost all of them were funded from the USAID. So
yeah.
imagine this impact that it's had, and that's why Georgia continues to be embroiled by all these riots and everything. And it's because the baneful influence of these NGOs. It's not going to be easy to get rid of, and that was really the
Well,
whole point. Create
we'll
these
see.
cadres that are going to be permanently trying to instigate color revolutions.
Well, we'll see when the spigot's turned off. All of a sudden, no more rent
Well, that's
arrives.
it. And that's going to
Where's the
be the
rent a
key.
crowd? Oh, they
Exactly.
didn't get paid last
That's
Friday.
right. That's going to be key. Exactly. That somehow you mean you're not getting any more money. Yeah, then that could be. But clearly they were still getting paid, which is why they're still out there every night creating problems in Georgia, just in time for the news cameras and just in time for Kaya Kallas, the EU foreign minister, to denounce the horrific repression taking place in
I,
Tunisia.
I'm not sure I got it right, but I had Pepe Escobar on my program recently, and he referred to her as Tutti Frutti, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, right. Yeah.
Appropriate. All right, this is a wonderful day for real humanitarian people. Okay, real humanitarian thoughts
Good.
and actions. Okay, this grift has just been a bane. That's a great word,
Yeah,
George. I'm glad you used it.
yeah,
And it has to be exposed for what it is, and it will be. Okay,
right,
let's hope that's just the beginning. It's
right,
just
right.
the beginning.
I mean, as we said before, I mean, Trump got off the boom. He's out of the gates, very swiftly, very different from what he did in 2017, where he just simply didn't do anything. I mean, just kind of, decided to let everyone just do whatever they wanted to do while he went off to the golf course. This is a very different Trump. So, we'll see what else happens. I mean, it's
What
still
is
only been 2 weeks.
what's the phrase in Silicon Valley? Move fast and break things? Something like that. There's that kind
Okay.
of phrase. Okay. Well, that's what he's doing. Maybe that's Elon rubbing off on him.
Right.
All righty. Like I said, this is a great story. George and I, be rest assured that we were going to keep a very close eye on this one. As we close, I want to again profusely apologize to everyone. We had an insurmountable technical problem trying to do our live stream today. It didn't happen.
Right.
Last time it was me. This time it's George. Hopefully, it'll all be resolved by the time we do it again on
Right.
Monday.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, let's hope so. So, I can hope that tomorrow my live stream solo will take place. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern time. Please join me, and then think about these ferocious hounds because they're not going to be there at 3 p.m. Eastern time. But they have oversight responsibilities, and they say, well, you got to do something. You don't just so sit there. You got to do something. So. Um, if you have a few bob in your pocket, whip them out, dunk them into the tip jar. We're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve on the technology. And above all, maybe, one day these dogs will learn to trust me, though I have my doubts. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. Please, see you soon. Bye bye.